Alright guys, back with another video for you today, and today I'm talking about the first ever fragrances from the designer house of Brunello Cucinelli. While I was in Milan, I noticed that they had just put out two new fragrances, the first ever fragrances from this designer house, simply called Pour Homme and Pour Femme. So two different fragrances from this house. I'm going to let you know all about them coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yeah, we've got two new fragrances from Brunello Cucinelli. These are the first fragrances ever for this house, and they just put them out in Milan while I was there. I was walking past their store. I saw a big display of the fragrances. I walked in and bought these two fragrances, later realizing that they're quite pricey fragrances at 180 euros each for 100 ml. But you know, I did smell them in the store and I liked what I smelled, and I'm going to tell you what these are all about. They are created by two different perfumers from Firmenich. I've been talking about Firmenich quite a bit recently. Last week with Mona Katan's visit here in the studio, and all of the Kayali fragrances are created by Firmenich perfumers. In fact, Olivier Cresp created the latest Yum Pistachio Gelato for Kayali. But now we've got Pour Homme created by Olivier Cresp, and then we've got Daphne Bugey with Pour Femme. So again, two different perfumers from Firmenich. I guess the brand really, you know, got a great deal or arrangement with Firmenich, or they like the fragrances they created for them and things like that. So these are eau de parfum concentration fragrances, and really enjoyed the nice looking bottles. What do you guys think? Check it out. The men's has the kind of a ribbed, rimmed or ribbed look here on the bottle, and then the woman's is much more plain and simple. And I like the bottoms of these bottles. They have this kind of metallic kind of a look, and they do kind of spray really nicely. They're pretty good sprayers, not the best, I should say, not like Dior or Louis Vuitton or things like that. This brand is under Eurotalia, which is also distributing Michael Kors, Moschino, Versace, D Squared, and some other brands that I don't ever speak about. But I'm glad to have these here. They haven't launched in the States yet, but if you're new to Brunello Cucinelli, let me know. And also, if you're a fan of their clothing, let me know. Are you dying to get your nose on these fragrances? First off, I should say, I think these fragrances are overpriced personally, and even though the collection of clothing and their whole fashion is quite priced really high, so maybe that's why they price these fragrances high like their clothing. But I feel like they should have stuck at 150 euros, or at least a little less, so they would come to the States at about $150, because they're basically just, you know, simple signature line fragrances from a designer, and not like an exclusive private collection or something like that where they kind of go into the niche direction. But that's one of the negatives I have for these fragrances. There's a couple more. But as far as smells go, I really like the fragrances. They're really, really pleasant smelling, with my favorite being the men's, the Homme, Pour Homme in EDP. It's Olivier Cresp, 100 ml for 180 euros. And it features notes of Cypress, Angelica, ginger, black pepper, Clary sage. And then I feel like there's probably some citruses in here as well, because I get a kind of a fresh vibe with this one, but a bit green, a bit vegetal, a zingy, spicy, and some aromatics in there as well. And the cypress is kind of creating the woodiness, but there's a bit of a greenness and aromatic vibe with it as well. Very different than pine or something like that. And also a bit different than just straight in your face, like a cedar wood or sandalwood or something like that. It plays more aromatic and fresh, and perfect thing to wear in the summertime. The several times I tested this one out, it's fairly close to the skin, but not as close to the skin as the Pour Femme. The Pour Homme, I feel like, projected a little more than the Pour Femme, and also did last a little longer than the Pour Femme. So the Pour Homme, I feel like, is the winner. And if you're a man, you might, you know, dig this one more than if you're a woman digging the Pour Femme, because the Pour Femme, I feel like, is a more like a floral woody musk style, but the men's is more like a aromatic woody style fragrance. So Very, very fresh, very zingy. And I felt like when I was also wearing it, there's a bit of a creaminess in there as well. Something is creating a very soothing, creamy, calming, kind of a mixture of notes together. And again, as I said, there's feels like there's a bit of a citrusy touch in here, but they're not mentioning the citruses. Maybe it's the freshness from the ginger I'm getting here to create a bit of you know, a kind of like a citrusy vibe. Like maybe bergamot is in here for sure to give you that fresh boost or something. Again, it's a very pleasant smelling fragrance. In fact, it smells great. I just think it's overpriced. The other thing is moderate longevity. This is not beast mode whatsoever. Both of these fragrances are not beast mode, and that's why I felt like with the longevity being so moderate, and the fact that you know, it's basically a designer signature fragrance, the price is a bit overpriced. But I'm happy to have it here. I have the chance to have it here in the collection and talk to you guys about it and let you know what I think about this fragrance, and then also offer it to the clients that come here that do sniff sessions and client consult sessions. But either way, those are my thoughts on the Pour Homme from Brunello Cucinelli. And then now to the Pour Femme. Once again, it's an EDP. This is the bottle. Again, the bottles are nice. I feel like the bottles are cute. They're nice bottles, I think. This is a Daphne Bugey fragrance, 100 ml, 180 euros. This is euros. Again, I don't think these are selling in the States yet. I actually called the San Francisco Brunello Cucinelli store, and they said they have no idea when the fragrance is coming here. So I don't know how long it'll be before it actually makes its debut here in the States, but I have a bottle. If you guys are going there, you like the brand, you want to have it, I think it's kind of exclusive in Milan right now. At least that's what I heard. But this fragrance, the Pour Femme, features notes of pink pepper, precious woods, chestnut, orange blossom, bergamot, mandarin orange. So the fragrance sits very, very close to the skin, and as I said, it's the floral woody musk style. Instantly when I smell it, that's the style I thought it was going to be. It's definitely classy. I mean, both of the fragrances are very, very classy, and it's got that kind of a classy quality to it, and I feel like that's why it's correct that they were launched under Brunello Cucinelli. These are totally fitting as far as smells go. The men's being a bit more fresher, more vibrant, and then the woman's being a bit more musky. But you get lots of woods here. There's a powdery quality here as well. Floral touch for sure, but it's more of a citrus flower like the orange blossom. And then there's a bit of a nuttiness, and not very, very strong. It's kind of faint and kind of close to the skin like the fragrance is. When you wear them side by side, you'll definitely notice one screams out a little louder than the other. The men's is, but both of them are not big screamers, so they're not having a lot of projection and sillage and things like that. This is me comparing fragrances to some of the most intense fragrances, but for me, as I'm wearing these are pretty wimpy fragrances. Smells great, both of them really, really smelling great, with me my preference being the men's Pour Homme, but they're pretty wimpy fragrances, and I feel like they should have priced them lower. So those are my thoughts with these two fragrances. Brunello Cucinelli Pour Homme, Brunello Cucinelli Pour Femme. Have you gotten your nose on this one? Those of you that live in Milan or anywhere in Italy. I don't know if it's launched everywhere in Italy. Probably is. I'm sure they have plenty of stores all over. If you've gotten your nose on these fragrances, let me know what your thoughts are. One other thing I should say, since the brand is so expensive, like the clothing and everything is so expensive, why didn't they do the Celine thing? Like Celine launched their, you know, fragrances as being this kind of like uber luxury collection of fragrances, only selling in the boutique, and you've got not two, but a whole range of different fragrances. You can go in and sample them and smell them and things like that. With this, I felt like the job well done, smells great, overpriced. I felt like it's more like not necessarily that exclusive of a brand, if that makes sense, where Celine has that kind of like, you know, very luxury collection, Louis Vuitton, but when they launch just two fragrances like this, I feel like they'll end up at the discounters eventually pretty fast. But with the fact that Louis Vuitton, Celine keeps their fragrances so exclusive, you never see them at the discounters and things like that. So that reasoning behind that makes me, you know, think of the brands as being even more exclusive. With Brunello Cucinelli, I felt like similar, very, very exclusive collection, expensive collection of fragrances, I think they should have done something like that as well. Something a little more high-end, a little more exclusive, where they can charge a little more, you know, I mean, it could be more expensive than these, because these seem to be pretty signature line fragrances, but overpriced, if that makes sense. But either way, I'm giving you my thoughts on these fragrances. Hopefully they'll make it here and you guys can get your noses on them and, you know, offer up your own opinion on these two fragrances. But as I said, if you have gotten your nose on these fragrances, let me know what you think about them. And I'm happy to have been able to get them. Like, if I wasn't in that neighborhood, I would not have been able to realize that the brand had just put out the fragrances. I'd have come home and then have read the articles that it is already out. But happy to have them here to report back to you guys and let me know your thoughts on these fragrances. But either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.